Crime Curious is a true crime podcast that takes an in-depth look into real cases through the lens of a trained investigator and former prosecutor turned judge.
If you are sensitive to expletives, anatomical descriptions, and accurate descriptions of crime scenes, this podcast may not be suitable for you.
Welcome to Crime Curious. I'm Charnell.
I'm Megan.
I'm still here. I'm here. I'm here.
Still here.
I'm here.
He was
All right.
poking me with that.
Yes, he
finger
was.
wand.
Yes, he was. Let's shake Gregory. I'm going to... Hey, Tasha, Megan did give me the Florida water. I'm going
I
to
thought
spray.
it was for a different episode. My
Yep.
apologies, but
Yep.
she has it now. Oh.
There we go.
Okay, we're not in a hurry. It's fine.
We're not. We're totally fine.
Let's go.
It's not as if we hit record and realized we weren't recording for 20 minutes.
No, it's
No,
fine.
that didn't happen.
No, it's fine. We're good.
It's
Skip the
totally
intro.
fine, guys.
Skip the intro. It's fine.
Anyway,
What
hi.
case have you got for us today,
Hi.
Charnell?
Oh my
Hi.
gosh. We have a very, you guys, this episode and the next are going to possibly be our longtime listeners' new favorite.
Okay.
All right. This is a very powerful case. Very special thank you to listener Alicia for today's powerful story. She even sent us money to buy the book that I'm going to reference a lot through the Buy Me a Coffee link. And Alicia, you were absolutely right. This book spoke to my soul. It is a story that will help change the world for the better. And so thank you. I did buy it. I loved it. And I'm going to encourage everybody else to buy the book. It's called Baylie by Shawnee Baker. And this book is about the death of Baylie Grogan. And it's written through the lens of her mother, Shawnee Baker.
Okay.
Okay. It is an incredible story in all the ways, meaning it is equal parts tragic as it is moving. This was by far the hardest case that I've ever researched, and I do not say that lightly because we have covered some of the world's most heinous cases. But this one hit differently because this book takes you through the raw emotions of a mother who tragically lost her 19-year-old vibrant child in a horrible way, and this isn't even the worst of it, believe it or not.
Ugh, okay.
So strap
I feel
in.
like you're telling me I'm going to be inspired, but first you're going to break my heart.
Yes, that is how it is going. Yes, and there's also so much intrigue in here. It's just going to help change, I think, some of the ways that people see the world. Truly, it's really great in a terrible way.
That's what we do here.
It is, and there is hope in this case. There is light here. And Baylie's story will help change the world for the better, I'm sure of it. So prepare yourself for a truth that is stranger than fiction and a story of love that transcends lifetimes. Some names in this story have been changed to protect identities, so I'm going to honor that here as well throughout the case. And I'm going to start by reading you the prologue of the book Baylie by Shawnee Baker. So just know these are not my words. I'm reading right from this book that I highly encourage you all to go out and get. Tranquility became chaos. I swung open the door and ran to the nearest stall. I threw myself onto the bathroom floor, and my knees slammed the tiles. I gripped the edges of the toilet and began to heave. My insides tore through my throat. My stomach retched as tears poured down my face. I choked on the endless secretions that filled my airway as blood trickled from my lip to the white tile floor. Cold porcelain against my forehead soothed the pounding behind my eyes. The events of the last 24 hours swirled in my head, a blurry whirlpool of information I needed to untangle. My body twitched, shook, ached. I couldn't breathe, couldn't see, couldn't think. The pain consumed me, and I wanted it to end. I lifted myself up, wobbling with each step to the sink. I clutched to the counter to stop the shaking. My heart thudded across my chest with adrenaline racing through my veins like venom. I waited for the spinning to stop, the dizziness to pass, and the blackness to disappear. I shuddered with every breath, struggling to gain control. I wanted to exit this reality, but I resisted pushing it away. Not yet. I had to make sense of it, figure out a solution. I know how to end the spiral of horrific events. I tried not to focus on my racing heart, pounding head, or sick stomach. I ran my hands over my swollen belly, counting out slow breaths even as I replayed the last 24 hours over and over in my mind. As my heartbeat steadied and my vision cleared, I forced myself to study the face in the mirror. Blood from my lip filled the lines between my teeth. I turned on the tap, waited for the water to run cold, and then scooped the liquid in my hands, filling my dry mouth with its coolness. I splashed my face, hoping to wake up from the nightmare. I held a towel against my face, wanting to hide in the darkness forever. Please, God, let me disappear. I took another deep breath, but the lump in my throat returned, and panic welled up once again. Please tell me it's not true. I scrubbed my hands for the millionth time in my life. I let the water run over my hands and tried again to calm my thoughts, watching bubbles fill the sink and then circle the drain. There must be a mistake. Nothing was in order. The universe was in chaos, and it no longer mattered. This cannot be real. I barely recognized my own reflection. I watched tears streaming down my red, swollen cheeks again. They just wouldn't stop. I grabbed a wad of toilet paper, wiped my eyes, and shoved another ball of paper into my pocket. I stood tall, cleared my throat, forced myself out of the bathroom, and walked out to face the boys. After all, I was their mom. So that prologue was describing the events that happened to Shawnee Baker when she entered the ICU unit in Miami, Florida. She had learned 20 hours before that her daughter, Baylie Grogan, had been struck by a car while crossing six lanes of traffic on a busy downtown Miami street and was in critical condition. The real fascinating thing is that what I just read to you was not written by Shawnee. It was written in Baylie's journal prior to her accident, and it was discovered after her death.
So that's just crazy to me because I have so many questions, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Was she a writer? Was she kind of writing a piece of fiction in her journal? Was she foreseeing these events from her mom's own eyes? Had she had a dream and she was dream journaling? Because the way that she wrote that is like a young writer. Like, that's how I used to do in creative writing. Like, you were, and she was even putting all the adjectives and the feeling adjectives in there. So you're like, there. Like, it's happening to you. I have so many questions. And I caught a few other things that caused me some concern here as well.
Right.
In terms of how she describes herself.
Yeah.
It is.
But it's her mom. But she's presumably describing her mom.
She is.
So
She's 100%. That entire prologue was written by Baylie prior to
and
her
mom
death.
finds it later. Like, can you imagine?
She does.
Can you even imagine?
A long time later, actually. Yes.
Really?
Yes. And I'll give you all the specifics. This case actually took me a really long time to research and to write out. So I really do hope you guys enjoy it because I've tried to set it up in a way that's going to be very impactful as well. But throughout this case, you will hear how it's clear that Baylie's soul knew her fate, knew that she was here to teach the world about consciousness, love, and life after death. Shawnee Baker was no doubt a strong, independent, and driven woman. Now that's Baylie's mom, remember, much like Baylie was described. But I noticed throughout the book that she often did not give herself enough credit for what she had been through. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Shawnee was born in Canada, and that is where her loving parents and sister are. She became a nurse, and she worked primarily in the NICU. She was the breadwinner. She married young. She had 2 boys, Mackenzie and Tristan, and then came Baylie on May 6th, 1999. Baylie was actually born in Texas because Shawnee had gotten a really good nursing job there, so she and her husband moved from Canada to Texas, where he was a stay-at-home dad, and she worked long hours. It turns out that this man was having a lot of affairs, and when Shawnee let him know that she was in labor with Baylie, not only did he not show up for the delivery, but the next day, he brought the boys, Tristan and Mackenzie, to the hospital to meet their sister, and he left them all there. So Shawnee drove herself and all 3 children home from the hospital alone.
What a piece of shit.
It's like classy.
He did not contact Shawnee again until days later to tell her that he was not coming back. It turns out...
I didn't want you to come back anyway,
For
asshole.
real, like...
And she's like, oh, no.
Right.
That's not what she's
I was really
thinking.
hoping after that you would.
Those hormones, 2 young kids at home, and you just legit just gave birth. You're the breadwinner. He sits at home and watches the kids. So, not that that's not an important job, but like, what is she going to do?
Right.
She's working 50, 60 hours a week, and now she has no one to stay home with her kids anymore, presumably.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
Wow.
And it turns out he'd been seeing a woman who was essentially planning to take over being her children's mother and living happily ever after with this schmuck.
He was like Voldemort. He was killed despair.
Yeah. Shawnee finds emails and letters that were very cryptic, like they had planned to get rid of her.
Somehow.
Yes. Now, she didn't give that information to the police. Instead, she's in survival mode. So just days after having Baylie, she called her parents back in Canada, and she made arrangements to move in with them and move back to Canada, back home.
So she takes the 2 boys and her infant daughter and goes home.
Yes.
Did they ever say where in Canada she's from?
There is a couple of different places. I do get to it. I'm not remembering it quite off the top of my head, but beautiful. They describe the landscape where she's at. Of course, a lot of Canada is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a big place.
It's basically Michigan.
Yes.
Guys.
But yes, she does say it. I don't know that I necessarily make note of it, but read the book and
There
you
you
would
go.
know.
That's when you get those details. Beautiful, lovely Canada.
Beautiful, lovely Canada. And I mean, this was a long book, and I'm trying to condense it to 2 episodes. So, and without totally stealing her whole book. But life was not easy. Her parents were helping raise her children, and she was working tirelessly as a nurse. The boys missed their dad because they had bonded with him since he was a stay-at-home parent, and he's now suddenly gone. He did show up a year later after he and his girlfriend didn't work out. Imagine that.
What?
Mm-hmm. And they did try to make it work, but basically he just fades into the background of their life.
Sounds like a good spot for him, really.
I think so. His family, however, did stay in contact and was supportive of Shawnee and the kids. So they do have a relationship with their parental.
They didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, right, exactly. Their parental grandparents and whatnot. But Shawnee eventually meets another man who was at first really fun for her and the kids. He made them laugh a lot, which they needed, and they built a home together. There was a semblance of stability. They literally built a really beautiful home. However, this man ended up having significant, and I do mean significant, mental health issues that went unmedicated and untreated for far too long. At the expense of their childhoods, Tristan, Mackenzie, and Baylie grew up with a stepdad that had very unpredictable mood swings, and Shawnee was once again the breadwinner, so she was gone 50 to 70 hours a week at the hospital as a nurse and had no real awareness of the extent of the stress, fear, and abuse that was going on in her home. Finally, enough was enough, and she divorced this man. The cost was high, though. Her children, now teens, were struggling, and they faced total financial ruin and bankruptcy. Her parents were able to help once again. She has a really strong support system, but it was messy and traumatic, and they lost their big, beautiful home. For Baylie, her escape from an early age was horses. She had a beautiful horse called Dark Secret, and Shawnee worked hard to make sure that they were able to keep Dark Secret. I found myself seeing breadcrumbs throughout her life story that were foreshadowing her fate. And the name of her horse, her best friend, and the one thing that kept her grounded while her life was in chaos is one of those breadcrumbs, Dark Secret.
Especially if she got to name her horse.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like my daughter's horse obviously came with a name.
Right.
And she got to, so there was something of her soul in there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, those breadcrumbs, that futuristic thing that's happening.
The boys were now graduated and starting lives and businesses of their own, leaving the nest. So Shawnee, with Baylie being a part of the decision, decided to move to New Hampshire for a fresh start. She got a nursing job, and New Hampshire is as beautiful as their life in Canada was.
I mean, New England is a beautiful area, that whole area. We're talking about all 4 seasons, like Michigan.
Yeah.
But you're close to the ocean.
Yes, and they do love the ocean. They both just needed something new and exciting to look forward to. There is so much of Baylie's personality that becomes evident throughout the book that her mother wrote. Baylie was known for being happy, considerate, responsible, and deeply empathetic and intuitive.
That's what everyone says about me, Charnell.
I know.
Your face.
She was someone who connected easily with others and was friends with everyone. She had a deep love for animals. Baylie had a strong bond with her horse and spent hours at the barn. She often woke up at 5 a.m. to care for him before school and returned again after classes. This routine shows how disciplined and nurturing she was even as a young girl.
And that it wasn't a short-term hobby.
No, not at all.
This is a life decision when you're intentionally getting up that early to spend time with your bestie, and your bestie has 4 legs and it whinnies.
Mm-hmm. She also had a strong academic drive. She was academically gifted and planned to become a neurosurgeon. Her interest in medicine began early and shaped her goals as she approached adulthood. She was responsible and mature beyond her years. Family and friends consistently described her as wise, grounded, and dependable. She often acted as the mom of her friend group, even in high school. She was very close-knit with her family. She was incredibly close to her mother, her grandmother, aunt, brothers, and then later in life, her next stepfather, who would become her father. There's some more foreshadowing for you, too. After moving to New Hampshire, Shawnee met a man named Scott Baker. Scott was divinely placed in their life in the exact moment they all needed. Scott was wealthy and was a successful man. He wasn't handed things in life. He had to work for what he had, but he was the best kind of successful. He was business-minded, but with a big heart, too. Shawnee and Scott fell in love, and although at first Baylie was unsure of having her alone time with her mother disrupted, eventually she falls in love with Scott, too. They bonded over fast cars and car talk. They shared a love of sports cars. Baylie was incredibly smart and had on her vision board her educational goals from an early age. So within a year of meeting Shawnee, I always read that wrong. I needed a comma. Within a year of meeting, Shawnee married Scott and Baylie, and she moved into his beautiful home. Baylie was on the equestrian team with Dark Secret and thriving academically. Things are looking up for them. Scott, being wealthy, means that Bailey's education goals can reach higher, so she ends up at a top boarding school, Kent School, in Kent, Connecticut. One that Baylie had actually looked into when she was living in Canada at the age of 11, and Shawnee even emailed the school, and they discovered the cost was out of their reality at the time, so the email went forgotten. They both had forgot about it until one day when Baylie was already attending the school. Her mom searched in her emails for a keyword that brought up the old email, and she realized Baylie actually manifested her dream high school experience after all. And she was thriving on the equestrian team. The coach was impressed with her and had a conversation with Shawnee and Scott about getting Baylie a younger horse that could help her succeed, something that they knew Baylie was ultimately not going to be willing to do. She wanted to be on the equestrian team, at college even, someday. But that wasn't her primary focus. She was going to college to become a neurosurgeon, so equestrian goals are just secondary fun. So they opted not to do that, and she continued with Dark Secret.
Dark Secret's her bestie. She's
It
like,
is.
listen, my
Her
ultimate
best
goal is to
friend.
be a surgeon. You and I, buddy, we're in this together.
Yes.
I'm not trading you in on a younger model.
No. And however, Dark Secret, he wasn't doing well away from home. Because remember I said Kent School is a boarding school, so they're not home.
I'm familiar with that setup, too. I know
Yeah.
lots of people who go to colleges, and you're familiar, too, and they bring their horse to be on the equestrian team. They get shoved into a large barn stable with all of the other riders' horses, and not that they aren't treated well there, but it's not home.
No.
It's
no.
not home
and
turf.
he is older, right? And so Baylie knew to put her horse's needs ahead of her own, so she stops doing equestrian and she focuses on academics only. Her last ride was in Savannah, Georgia, and she didn't know that it would be her last. And that name Savannah is also a breadcrumb that not even Shawnee points out in her book, but I realized it when I was writing these notes. Maybe Shawnee has since realized it now, but it just wasn't. It wasn't said in the book, so I wanted to just
This is a
highlight it
Charnell
here.
pickup.
This is a
something
Charnell
you're
breadcrumb.
going to explain to us later.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But this means that Dark Secret came back to their stables in New Hampshire and ends up working with a new trainer. Tragically, Dark Secret had an accident less than a week after returning home.
Oh, no.
And in the middle of her senior year, Baylie loses her best friend just before Christmas. And she wasn't even able to say goodbye because she was at boarding school.
That breaks my heart.
Yes, me too. When she came
I
home.
might cry over a horse.
Right. Oh, yes, I did. When you read
read
the
the
book, you cry over the horse and everything.
It's like flipping to the end of Where the Red Fern Grows.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
do it.
Don't do it.
Traumatizing children born in the 80s for years.
Baylie did come home on holiday break, and she visited Dark Secret's grave. When she returned, she had lost the light that drew people to her. She quit the equestrian team because riding was too painful for her, and she was withdrawn. She became the target of online bullying when someone took photos of her without permission and posted them. Something that I have not shared with you because, quite frankly, given all of Bailey's success and maturity, this is just the icing on the cake, but Baylie is drop dead gorgeous.
Was that her picture on the book cover
Yes.
of your Kindle? Are
Yes.
you willing to show that to everybody right now so they can see the cover page of what she
Sure.
looks like
If
in the
it'll
book
come-
title?
If it'll come to life.
Because
There is-
I only just glanced, you guys, and because Charnell's Kindle was blinking at her, and I was like, holy cow, what a beauty.
She is absolutely.
And that's the cover of the book, if people are looking, or is
it's
that?
not. That's just the cover of part 1 in the book. The cover of the book, though, I will share with you, is the last picture that was taken of Baylie the day that she was struck. What has been altered of it is the ocean, the colors and whatnot of the ocean behind it. But she was at because she was in
She's
Miami.
in Miami, and I'm familiar with that area
Yep.
and those 6 lanes. You've been there too,
Yes.
with me.
Yes.
And I think you might have been as well. So
Yes, and so she was at the that picture that you see on the front of the actual book. That's just the back of her in a sun and a hat at the ocean. That is a real picture of Baylie. But what has been altered is there's a storm on the horizon and things like that. But Shawnee does include that in the book as well. She includes a lot of beautiful pictures of Baylie, but the target of her online bullying, I would imagine, came from a lot of jealousy.
Oh, yeah.
Because not only is she tall and blonde and skinny and fit, athletically fit, but she's brilliant and kind.
I'm sorry, I have a frog in my throat. You didn't say, but do we know if the online bulliers were they female classmates or a combination, or do we not know for sure who
I
was
don't.
doing
Nope,
this?
I don't know. All I know is that there were photos posted of her without permission, and the headmaster knew about it.
Okay.
And it wasn't handled properly. But frankly, at this point in time, Kent School is no longer the dream that it once was for them anymore. So
Right.
Baylie ends up finishing her year online, and she came home to be with her family.
What a tragedy.
Yes.
Like her goals were thwarted because of mental issues caused by
Losing-
other people's
yes.
jealousy and
Right
the
after
loss.
losing her horse. Yep.
Yeah.
She got to work that summer at Runnymede, a horse ranch owned by the author of the Da Vinci Code, because Scott was good friends with Dan Brown, and she impressed them all with her work ethic, and her light returned through working with the horses to heal her broken heart,
Also,
which is
I
a
want
real
to work
thing.
there.
I know. It sounded amazing. Around this time, Shawnee and Scott were discussing having children of their own. Now, Shawnee is encroaching.
Really?
Yep. Shawnee is encroaching on 40.
She was a young mom. Okay.
Yeah, remember she had her first 3 children very
okay.
young.
All
Yep.
right. And her daughter's not, I mean, she's still a teenager.
She is. She was 18 at this point in
Okay.
time. Yep. She was, because she is about to graduate high school, or she did graduate high school. Now, and Scott wanted kids of his own. I mean, Shawnee and Scott are married and they don't have children, and the
Okay.
2 boys, are
Adults?
running their own businesses, doing well. Yeah, Bailey's about to go to college, so she's encroaching on 40. Now, Shawnee had seen a medium years before who told her that she would have more children, and even described Baylie crossing over, but also next to a small girl, like they were one here on Earth. Something that perplexed Shawnee and the medium at the time, because the medium was like, I've never seen this before, but Baylie has crossed over, but she's also next to a small girl, and they're both here on Earth. This is a breadcrumb too.
I see that, and also I would hate that visit to the medium.
Well, she didn't. Shawnee wasn't exactly. Actually, the medium was freaked out too.
Yeah.
From the way, yes, that
and
she
that's when
describes
Megan
it.
never goes and does anything like that for fun again.
Right. Baylie was in full support of them having more children, as were her brothers. And so Shawnee and Scott, are planning on having kids. Shawnee felt that she missed out on raising her kids with having to work all the time, and felt now that she didn't have to work, she could be fully present as a mother. They had some issues, so they looked into fertility testing and discovered that Shawnee had cervical cancer.
Wow.
Yeah. Luckily, they were able to remove the parts of her cervix that were cancerous and still leave enough intact for them to try IVF. Baylie had decided after several college visits to attend the University of Miami while all of this is going on as pre-med, right? And once again, she was manifesting her destiny, because this college was on her vision board I talked about earlier as a child.
That girl was following her vision
She
board.
was.
No matter what.
She loves the beach, sun, palm trees, and warm weather.
Frankly, it's on my vision board.
Yeah, mine too.
For when I go back to school in my 50s.
Today you walked in and I was like, are we quitting our jobs and just
Yes.
going to open a bar on a beach? Because today was the day for
What
it.
did I say the name of it was?
Oh,
Sanctuary?
Our
No.
Tiki Time podcast.
yes. It was
Tiki Talk.
Tiki Talk with
Charnell and
Charnell and
Megan.
Megan.
Live mics at the bar.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what Tiki Talks. All right.
Title
so,
each episode after a famous drink. This one's the painkiller.
Shawnee talks about how they were never informed the real truth of the dangers of Miami as a city. Now, universities are not required to report crime rates or campus crime rates. They were admittedly naive, okay?
Okay.
One-
Because I think some people might need to research, but other people just would know. If
Yeah.
you're moving from the Midwest, the
Yep.
Northwest, to Miami, you're going to be in a different level of crime. It'd be like us moving from here to Detroit and expecting it to be similar.
But what her point is, it's not that they didn't know that Miami is dangerous. We'll get to more specifics that you're like, whoa, oh, really?
They
It was
expected
the-
the college in the area around the university to have disclosed more information.
Yes, like
that would be concerning.
and the campus crime rates
Yes.
themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that
that's
makes
because
sense.
it's all student athletes and they push that shit under the rug.
Well-
like Duke.
Oh God, Jason.
But we will see
Sometimes the honesty.
We'll see some ways where, Shawnee is working very hard on changing laws to where universities absolutely have to report their crime rates.
Okay.
But one afternoon during her senior year in 2017, Baylie Grogan, 18 at the time, spoke to her mother in a serious tone. She said, "The only thing worse than dying is living in a body that doesn't work. Promise me you won't ever let me live that way."
Something prompted that.
After questioning why Baylie would even make such a statement, Shawnee promised her, acknowledging that she would not want to live that way either. Shawnee's like, I wouldn't want to live like that either, so yeah, I promise. This is another breadcrumb. So
I
was
expect this from a premenopausal woman who has constant feelings of impending doom, but you don't necessarily expect that from a
18-year-old senior in
18-year-old
high
girl.
school.
Yes.
Shawnee underwent IVF things during Bailey's freshman year of college. By the end of her freshman year, Shawnee was pregnant with a little girl. The summer between her freshman and sophomore year at the University of Miami was spent being a lifeguard, working, being a beautiful, vibrant light in the world, and helping her mom set up the baby's nursery. She was so excited to meet her sister. Of course, they knew it was a girl.
Yeah.
In August, just before Baylie returned to school, Shawnee started to bleed profusely. Baylie was with her and was in the room when they did an ultrasound to check on the baby. The baby was fine. The bleeding was never explained, and it was a substantial amount of blood.
Okay. Remember, though, that she's been treated for cervical
Yep.
cancer. She's
Yep.
had some stuff removed.
She's
and
had
she's
part of her cervix removed.
She's a geriatric pregnancy
She
at
is.
this point, even though she's younger than I am.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's true.
And so it may be there was nothing wrong. And
No, there wasn't. There wasn't anything. But Baylie got to meet her sister by way of the ultrasound,
oh,
and this is the only time that Baylie got to meet her.
okay.
1 week after Shawnee took Baylie to the University of Miami to get her settled into her dorm room, all of their lives changed forever. Shawnee and Scott were on a yacht vacation, something that had become a tradition for them. With another couple that they'd never met before, they just booked the yacht at the same time. Okay, so like a cruise, but way smaller, but
Yeah.
for rich people.
So like a cruise, but for rich
Sounds
people.
even
That's-
scarier than a cruise.
Yes.
No, I would love it.
And this is every parent's worst nightmare. They were unable to be reached out in the ocean.
Right.
Bailey's accident occurred just after 3 a.m. on August 18th, and Shawnee did not get phone reception until after 11 a.m. on August 19th. Police had been parked in their driveway all night, but once they realized that they were on vacation, they had to call instead, which is not typically how they like to
Nope.
deliver terrible news to people. Shawnee was confused and convinced that they had the wrong person.
You are hoping and praying that to be the case.
Yes, absolutely. She was not able to be told anything much because Bailey's 19.
She's an adult.
She's an adult, and there's no medical proxy for her. All they can tell her, as the next of kin, that their daughter was in a terrible accident and that they need to get to Miami immediately, and it will be likely to say goodbye.
And they're finding all of this out on a yacht.
In the middle of the ocean on a yacht. They're still hours, like they had to then get to land.
Yeah.
It took 20 hours for them to get there, to get to Miami by trying all the avenues possible. They even made it to the gate of one flight just to have the doors shut in their face, and they wouldn't reopen them despite their begging, pleading, and explaining the dire situation. And Shawnee literally in a pool on the floor, bawling beside herself because the flight didn't take off for like another 20 minutes.
Right. They just shut the gate at a certain amount of time.
They do. But like they could have just let them past, right? And that's just, the prologue that I read to you in the beginning was what happened to Shawnee after the 20-hour desperate journey to her daughter. What happened after she saw her daughter's broken body in that hospital bed. And remember, those words were written in Baylie's journal long before it happened. Scott was the rock. He had resources and connections, and they hired a private investigator to determine what happened to Baylie that night because she was a focused student, a responsible teen, often the DD, and very safety conscious. This is what was determined by the investigation, which includes a lot of street cameras, phone messages, and statements from people involved. Baylie and her friends were at a friend's house for his 21st birthday, Will. Okay, that's his name. Early in the day on Saturday, August 17th, 2018. They were drinking, but headed back to their sorority house by way of ride share, so like an Uber app.
Absolutely.
To get ready for dinner. They took ride shares all day and into the evening. Baylie stopped drinking at 7 and switched to water. She stayed in contact with her roommate via text and even FaceTime all night. She ended up separating from her sorority group because her friend Will, that's the guy who turned 21, and they had been friends since freshman year. She's in her sophomore year now. Will wanted her to come hang out with him. She made it to where Will was, but she couldn't get in, and Will wasn't answering her calls or texts. Now, Will likely had a crush on Baylie, but Baylie had a boyfriend who was overseas to school at the time, okay?
Will got friend zoned.
Yeah.
By her.
Yep.
She was going to go hang out with him because he was her buddy.
Yes, exactly. But Will is suddenly not answering calls or texts. It's his 21st birthday. They were celebrating someone's 21st birthday at Will's house earlier. You know, I'm sure he's probably intoxicated, whatever, but...
Come back, party with us some more.
Yeah, and now she can't get in, to his place. So she contacts her roommate again and said that she's going to take an Uber to where her roommate was. Here is the danger that a psychic medium warned Shawnee about years before during a reading. She said that Baylie would need to be weary of two guys. So let's enter the two guys into the story. Two guys were also getting into an Uber at the same time as Baylie. This is common practice to save money.
They were doing a rideshare Uber.
They were.
So, okay.
They were. Baylie shared a rideshare with these two guys. She was texting her friend all along, letting her know what she was doing. She said the guys were shady, and they were driving in a circle. The guys had the rideshare driver stop at a gas station under the guise that they were going to get water. However, the rideshare driver told the private investigator later, and the police later, that the guys went up to an apartment above the gas station, not into the gas station. One of the guys brought back one bottle of water and cups, and they were being very insistent that Baylie drink the water in the cup. Baylie was suspicious of this, and she texted her friend that these bros are trying to get her to drink the water, and she knew there was likely something in it. So she takes 2 small sips and then proceeds to spill the cup on purpose. And she's texting this. This is all we can see this on text messages that were later found by the private investigator.
Okay.
The rideshare driver got angry at her and told her that she would need to pay the cleaning bill. Baylie agrees.
It's water.
Yeah. Yep. Baylie agrees.
Sorry about your Mazda.
However, this dude, he knows what the fuck's going on here. Like, that rideshare guy saw this. He knows what's happening. Baylie agrees, like, whatever, I'll pay the bill, I will pay the cleaning bill, and then asks to get out. And it turns out she gets out at the same place that she was picked up, because those guys had that Uber driver driving around in a circle. So she texts all of this to her friend, and her friend told her to just get another ride share and to meet her. Baylie said she's fine. She would just walk. It was a 3-mile walk from where her roommate was and where the ride share driver had dropped her off. It was pouring down rain, but Baylie insisted on walking. She then is texting her roommate that she doesn't know how to use the rideshare app. Now, at this point in time, it's obvious that the water was drugged, and Baylie was feeling the effects, even if she only took 2 small sips. At this point in time, her roommate FaceTimes her and can tell that she's clearly under the influence and was trying to get her to stop walking and get a rideshare. But Baylie insisted she didn't know how to use the rideshare app, and she was slurring her words. What happens next was documented on traffic cameras. Baylie is seen crossing traffic without looking both ways, without responding to external stimuli at all. She was in a zombie-like state, completely unaware of the vehicles heading toward her and swerving around her. Later, police share that this is exactly how someone responds when they're under the influence of a date rape drug.
No, like Rohypnol or something.
Unfortunately, this is something that happens all too frequently in Miami, and something that the Miami-Dade Police Department are all too familiar with seeing. Baylie was crossing a 6-lane road. She made it to the 6th lane and had one more step to take, with cars swerving all around her, when a car going 55 miles an hour never saw her, and it was raining, and struck her. Her roommate was even following her location all along on her phone and was texting her, "You're right outside. Your location hasn't moved from the street. Where are you?" And then she heard the sirens and ran out the front door. She was that close to safety. Her injuries were catastrophic. She had several surgical procedures to try and save her. She was in a true coma, not a medically induced one. She did not have a medical proxy, so that means her parents couldn't make decisions for her since she was 19, a legal adult. Instead, the hospital called the shots. Because she came in as Jane Doe and no one could reach her next of kin, the time frame to run the test that would have shown the date rape drug in her system had come and gone before her family reached her. It was not ordered by the hospital when she first came in because they just thought it was a tragic accident and they had very little to go on. They weren't able to get any evidence that would help the police investigation or the private investigator that these 2 men could have been held accountable for, or 2, right? Instead, without proof scientifically through her blood that she had been drugged, no one has ever been held accountable for what happened to Baylie. One of the men even messaged Baylie's Instagram account to ask, quote, how the water was the next day.
No.
Yep.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Can't track that.
Oh, they know who these guys are. They don't have the medical proof to show that there was a date rape drug in Baylie's system because the hospital didn't run the blood in. And
so instead of
quite frankly, they're just trying to keep her alive
or remaining silent, one of these guys thinks it's appropriate to make some type of a sick joke or a commentary on her page.
It was the next day, and they didn't know.
They didn't know.
They didn't know.
They had no. I mean, not that excuse delinquent behavior, but they didn't know she was in the hospital. Or they didn't
Nope.
know she had a car.
Right, but
Right.
even at that point in time, super incriminating statement that you just made.
Yeah.
You're a defense attorney's worst nightmare, son.
Yeah.
And that's only if they would have been able to get an immediate toxicology because that doesn't stay in your system very long.
No, which they didn't. It took 20 hours before the doctors could talk to Baylie's family and know she is not someone who is going to be out at 3 a.m. crossing traffic, not conscious of her safety like this.
Are you getting vibes of our friends, the Pattons, right now with
Yes.
this case?
Yes.
Makes
Oh,
me
it
sick.
reminded me
like,
of
I'm thinking
Renee
of them right
and
now.
Steve.
And Steve,
Yes.
yeah, Steve, who listens all the time and
Yes.
comments on us. And I'm just like, Steve, you're like, now my heart is broken again
Yes.
for both of these families.
Exactly. The message that I just told you about was found by one of Baylie's brothers who hacked into her things to try to piece together what happened that night while they were in the hospital with Baylie in a coma. As they tried to get information on the man, and all the man would say is, if anything was found in her system. He knew he got away with it, and that's all that he was concerned about, is what was found. Like, they messaged him, just like, hey, she's in a coma. She was, well, and he was not, I mean, as you know, he's not going to be. He just wants to know, is there proof? Is there proof that we gave her something?
How much do you know?
Right. And that is where we're going to end part 1.
Oh.
And you will want to hear part 2. Right now, Baylie is in a true coma, and they're trying to figure out what the next best steps are, but there is no medical proxy, so the hospital in Miami has to call all the shots. And we need a brain bath, my friend.
Okay, I'm going to brain bath you.
Okay.
So my good friend Tasha, our good friend Tasha, gave me a book when I was down in New Orleans.
Okay.
And it's just all kinds of funny stories and things, but the name of it is Does the Name Pavlov Ring a Bell? So that's the name of the book by Gary Blake. So I'm going to tell you a story. It's actually relatively lengthy, so be patient.
Okay.
There once was a small town in which lived a group of monks. These monks, having need of money to fund their monastery, decide to open a flower shop. Well, the rest of the townspeople were very pleased at first since they hadn't had a flower shop before. However, some people became concerned when they noticed that whenever children were sent to the flower shop to buy, you guessed it, flowers, they went missing. A group of citizens went to the shop to see if the monks knew what had happened to them. They entered the store and were immediately impressed and awed by the wide assortment of exotic flora present. However, their admiration turned to horror when one of the large plants reached down, grabbed a small boy, and swallowed him whole. The villagers fled the shop.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that.
Right. The villagers fled the shop screaming, attracting the attention of the other townspeople. As soon as the news was spread, the people decided that the only thing to do was get rid of the evil monks. A group of 20 men armed themselves with clubs and staves. At high noon, they attacked the monks' flower shop. However, they were unprepared for the high level of fighting skills of the brown-robed brothers. The men were beaten back in less than 15 minutes. So the townspeople assembled a second group, this time arming them with knives and scythes. At midnight, they attacked. But once again, the merciless monks beat them back, this time in less than 10 minutes. The town people were at a loss. Who would save them from the corrupt Capuchins? Suddenly, out of the darkness, stepped Hugh, the blacksmith, the tallest, strongest, and most foul-smelling man in the village. "Do not worry, my friends," said Hugh. "I will rid this town of these evil evangelists." The townspeople, having no other alternative, armed Hugh with clubs, staves, knives, and scythes, and sent him off to vanquish the foul friars. They waited impatiently at the edge of town, hoping against hope that Hugh would return victorious. Suddenly, over the crest of the hill, silhouetted against the afternoon sun, appeared Hugh. Over his shoulder was slung the remains of the hideous man-eating plant. "The monks have fled. Their flowers will trouble us no more," cried Hugh. The townspeople cried out with joy and, proclaiming the day a holiday, feasted and danced until dawn. From that day on, a moral was passed on to all of the children of the town. Whenever they were tempted to make fun of Hugh in his slow, smelly ways, they were reminded, only Hugh can prevent florist friars.
I hate you, Tasha.
Only Hugh can prevent florist friars.
The longest pun ever.
Yep.
I think that is the longest pun.
It was the longest pun ever.
I was really into the story, too.
Were you really?
And I was like, I
Jason.
can't wait to see how this
You
ends.
totally forgot it was from a pun book.
I didn't know it was from a pun book.
Oh, yes.
Does
Tasha
the name
set that.
Pavlov ring a bell is literally the
I
name of the
I
pun
just
book.
thought it was going to be fun stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's fun
There are-
puns.
I have all
good.
kinds. I have all kinds of.
Jason's favorite.
I have some good ones here, guys.
The slow ways that we torture each other. This is why people wonder if we're actually really friends in real life.
Right.
I know.
Friends don't treat each other like that.
Yes, we do. You're right. Best friends do. You have more?
I mean, I have so many more, but I
Okay.
don't know what you want from me.
I want you to stop.
The weekday Christian radio show hosted by failed apocalypse predictor Harold Camping was taken off the air. His wife covered him by saying, "Look, Harold, it's not the end of the world."
Come on, Jason, that's funny.
When I get the insatiable need to see a TV news magazine show immediately, my friend will advise me to wait 60 minutes. I can't.
Fine, we'll let these good people
Okay,
go.
one more thing though.
Let
Just
my
remember,
people go.
only old women watch the Grammy Awards.
All right, that was kind of funny.
That one is
I actually
funny.
like that one.
Okay.
Oh, there's
That
a pun
that
you
was
do
cute.
like.
That was funny.
It was
I've never
adorable.
met a pun I don't like.
I know. Same.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. If you want to hear part 2, just join Patreon in the link below. It's going to be great. Or wait till next week. What?
Oh, I was going to say that Gen Pop doesn't get part 2.
Oh,
No.
yes, they do. They just have to
Like,
wait a
my
week
God,
for
They
it.
do get
Wretch.
Gen 2. They just have to wait a week.
I would never
Horrible
do that.
person.
That would be awful of me, and it wouldn't be staying true to Baylie to tell her story.
Right.
They're gonna have to wait 7 days, or they can have it instantly. They get to be deciding. They get to decide. If you're already a Patreon, though, just click over to the next episode. And if you want to see our faces while we tell stories,
Yeah.
join as a top tier. Get the video episodes. It's cool.
You can see you can see my face when Megan does puns.
Yeah, exactly.
In my face when Jason talks.
And I can't ever see any of our faces because my notes are up. So
You're better off.
probably,
true.
You don't-
probably.
you
She really is.
You
Anyway,
can see me because I'm towering over the computers.
yes. We do hope that you keep it curious.
And keep listening.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, used to chase the tears in a different kind of grind, helping little ones leaving our old selves behind. Charnell, Jason, Megan, a trio strong and true, but the system wore us out, needed something fresh and new. So we flipped the script, found the mic and the beat. From deep investigations to stories bittersweet. Prosecutor, the judge, that's Megan on the mic. Charnell digs the dirt, makes sure the facts are right. Crime curious, yeah, that's the name we claim. Shaking our grief, fanning the curious flame. From global listeners to the brain bag we provide. Keep it curious, keep listening with nowhere to hide. Jason's got the wisdom and the jokes to make us smile. Keeps the energy flowing for every single mile. We dive into the dark where the mysteries reside, unraveling the truth with nowhere left to hide. Laws and evidence, Megan lays it down with grace. While Charnell's deep research sets the compelling pace. Crime curious, yeah, that's the name we claim. Shaking our great, fanning the curious flame. From global listeners to the brain bag we provide. Keep it curious, keep listening with nowhere to hide. Don't ask about the raccoons, some secrets we just keep. But every week we're digging secrets buried deep. For every mind that wonders, for every soul that seeks, we're here to break it down in our crime curious speaks.